Jesus Christ.
Good afternoon, my dear brothers and sisters. Jesus presented himself as the Good Shepherd in the Gospel according to St. John. And when I saw this first line, when he said, "I am the Good Shepherd," I went back to that account in the first book of Samuel, when God has to choose a leader, a king for his community. And so Samuel came and said to the people, "I have come to sacrifice to the Lord." And when he was performing this ceremony, there is that special group, the family of Jesse, was there. Jesse and his sons were invited for the sacrifice. And then they came. And then Samuel saw one of his sons. And he thought, well, this is the one. As I quoted, certainly here in the Lord's presence is his anointed king. But God has another plan. And then Jesse presented another son. And then hindi pa rin. Then God said, well, humans look at outward appearances, but the Lord looks into the heart. And then 7 sons were presented after the 2. Wala pa ring nakuha. Wala pa ring napili. Until they came up, or Jesse said that I still have one son. He is tending sheep. David, the shepherd. And the Lord instructed Samuel and said, go ahead, anoint him. He is the one. A shepherd. What is there in the heart of a shepherd that image became a representation of the presence of Jesus, or meaning the presence of God in Jesus? And eventually, even in the Psalms, they acknowledge that this God is indeed their shepherd. Well, in the book, The Problem of Pain by C.S. Lewis, he mentioned that our unique relationship with God can be represented by analogies. And so, no wonder the Lord uses the analogy of a shepherd with his sheep. While it is an example we can all observe and relate to, and somehow familiar to us. Well, if not, to those who are listening to Jesus during that time. Tayo siguro dito, we have a very limited knowledge of what a shepherd is. Though, of course, through our readings, through our probably experiences, personal experiences, or experiences through the media, we have an idea of what a shepherd is. But at the same time, he said that it is difficult to comprehend and a bit shocking to the sheep. Bakit kaya shocking to the sheep? Well, as Jesus said, I am the good shepherd, he presented to us a character or characters of a good shepherd. It is a shepherd who lays down his life for his sheep. Mag-aalay ng kanyang buhay para sa kanyang mga tupa. We have that nature, my dear brothers and sisters, that if we love, if we care, we express it in various ways. And one way, universally understood by all, is through our actions. We all know that the more you love someone, the more you sacrifice for them. The more you love someone, the more you sacrifice for them. And that is why it is not hard to understand why a husband or a wife would sacrifice their life for their spouse. Ang sweet naman, ano? They are confident that the other would do the same. Love begets love. It is not hard to understand why a father or a mother would sacrifice their life for their child. They know that one day their child will grow to understand and appreciate it. Usually, ganun naman. Pag ang magulang ay nagpakita ng pagmamahal sa anak, ito ay sinusuklian, ibinabalik, ipinaparamdam through different ways of appreciation. Lalo na ngayon, ano? Sa pag may mga okasyon, yun minsan doon todo pinapakita. Naku, sari-sari na ginagawa natin ngayon, no? Ngayon, usong-uso na yung may kotse, darating sa gate ng bahay. Pagbukas, mayroong mga happy birthday pa doon sa likod. O kaya ngayon, meron pa mga cake na nilalagyan ng bills. Ano? Sana all. Or other ways, no? Pagpapahayag ng pagmamahal ng anak, lalo na sa panahon ng kinakailangan na ng isang magulang ang tulong o pag-aaruga ng isang anak. It's easy to understand that. But then, to sacrifice one's life for an animal, a sheep, especially an animal that can hardly comprehend what its master thinks or does, that's hard to grasp, not only for ourselves, but definitely for an animal. In particular, the example Jesus used for the day as a sheep. But then, through that, dito natin nakita, through that example, of how great that love of God is for us. Minsan ganon, that seemingly we cannot return the love of a person, but that person will continue loving us. Ano nga ba? Kung dito natin titingnan sa relationship of a sheep and a shepherd, how can a sheep return the love of the shepherd? That a shepherd will lay down his life for his sheep. Ito yung shepherd na hindi uurong. Ito yung shepherd na hindi tatakbo. And Jesus did that. He embraced the suffering that was imposed to him. He embraced the death on the cross para sa ating lahat. And so through that, dito natin makikita that Jesus is the realization of the Psalm 23, wherein God is given to us as a shepherd, a provider, the one who will lead us in green pastures, the one who will set the table before us in the presence of our enemies. The shepherd who will anoint our head with oil. I've heard a sharing na, well, actually, the shepherd really anoints the sheep, or if not, yung, anong tawag dito, he will put oil sa sheep dahil may mga pagkakataon daw na ang mga sheep ay nagkakaroon ng mga kuto. And so through that, no, napoprotektahan sila. But of course, more than that is the anointing that will make us holy, that will make us worthy of what God promised. Kaya nga nung dumating si Jesus, it is a fulfillment of that image, that this Jesus will lead us into green pastures, and that is heaven. And so this good shepherd also is the one that leads his flock. He tries to familiarize himself with the flock given to his care. Though fiction, I've read a book about a sheep or a shepherd talking to his sheep. May mga pangalan yung kanyang tupa, basing it on a real experience of shepherding. And so with this, Jesus is telling us a different kind of relationship with God, a more personal relationship, by telling us that kilala ko kayo at kayo nawa ay makilala ako. And we have ways to be familiarized, or to familiarize ourselves with Jesus. The scriptures, the sacraments, the reflections about life. Our relationship with others can also be a way of familiarizing ourselves with the voice of the shepherd. And of course, the challenge to that is to listen to him. Listen to Jesus. And so with this, my dear brothers and sisters, we acknowledge Jesus as the shepherd of our lives. Of course, we wanted him to respond to our needs, to our present needs, the assurance, the security, the peace of heart, the healing, the provision that we have. But of course, more than that is the salvation given to us by this shepherd who offered himself for all of us, who died on the cross, and by his resurrection brought us, those who believe in him, to life. And of course, our duty is to listen to him. And if we follow his voice and his command, definitely our life will be the life that he promised to all of us. Life in its fullness, in the presence of Jesus, the Good Shepherd.